The views and opinions expressed on Unlock Your Wealth Radio are those of the host, guests, and callers only and are not necessarily the views of Unlock Your Wealth Radio, Heather Wagenhals, or Success Publishing International.
More willpower than a barefoot woman at a shoe sale. Able to stretch a single paycheck for an entire month. Makes money concepts easier than third grade math. Introducing your purveyor of prosperity, Heather Wagenhals.
Work all day, stress all night. Take your mind off your money and focus on your life. Money don't matter or the stuff it bought. It's the way you think, not what you've got, yeah.
Unlock Your Wealth Radio starts now. Get your money mind right.
That's us. Unlock Your Wealth Radio is sponsored in part by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at heathersfreeaudiobook.com and click on the link to over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. We're so glad to have you. I'm Heather Wagenhals, flanked by the maestro of Moolah, Michael Terry.
Hey.
And we will help you get your money mind right on today's show with the following great features. So first off, this week's key.
Oh.
Come on.
Number 4. Knowledge is power. Not knowing is powerful.
Yay! Yes, it's our fourth key in the keys to riches, and we will talk about that shortly. Moolah word of the day has to do with banks. It'll be great. And today's guest is going to be an old guest. We're going to reprise an interview because when I think about the fourth key and what's involved in this week's key, which is our 3-5 financial plan, addressing the 3 questions and 5 areas of concern. I think that our best guest for this was Brett Gottlieb from a past show. So we're going to reprise that interview for you today on today's show. So I hope you enjoy it just as much as I did the first time around. So we'll visit with him in a bit. And for those of you who are just joining us for the first time or haven't tuned in for a while, the Keys to Riches has now become its own show. It has gotten so popular that we flew it out on its own. So join us for this week's key, which is knowledge is power, not knowing is powerful, at our keys-to-riches.com website for our Keys to Riches show powered by Unlock Your Wealth Radio. You can also find it at our website at unlockyourwealthradio.com or Libsyn or Stitcher or wherever, SoundCloud, we're everywhere. iTunes, we're all over the place, okay? So we're like everywhere. Y'all have another. Okay. So, Moolah word of the day.
What do we got?
We've got a banker's bank. Michael, do you know what the banker's bank is?
Banker's bank.
A banker's bank is a banking service provider owned by a local banking community that enables small banks to provide customer services on an economy of scale otherwise only available through larger banks.
Interesting.
So for an example here, one of the banks that's a local bank is called National Bank of Arizona.
Right.
Okay, so you might be familiar with it. They have a few franchises, but they are not a Chase or a Wells Fargo or B of A or any of those other ones, Comerica. And how are they able to deliver the same types of services? Well, because they have a parent bank or a banker's bank, which is Zion Bank.
Oh, okay.
So big money. Big. So they have...
This is a question I've always had.
Yeah, so this is where the banks go to get their money. You might have heard the term like Federal Reserve funds, and stuff like that. This became very, very prescient at the turn of the market, at the turn of the century. If you remember, after we went to war, after 9/11, interest rates dropped. And Dinero, the prosperity poochie, who is blind, walked his way into a corner and can't figure out where he's going. Poor kid.
Mr. Magoo over here.
I know. Dinero Magoo, what's up? Poor baby. This is the pet-friendly show here at Unlock Your Wealth Radio and the Keys to Riches Radio.
It is.
Yeah. So as we think about it, the Bankers Bank is kind of like a critical piece of the puzzle because it allows them to be able to have access to money and power to offer financial services that would be cost prohibitive for a small bank. And like I was saying, so, in the mortgage business, we saw this because you have the LIBOR, the London Interbank Overnight Rate, and this is the rate at which banks borrow money from other banks and then are able to reloan it to you. So, a small bank may not have a big pool of money, but because they bank at a banker's bank, now they have access to money that they didn't have to be able to lend. So it's a service that they can provide. So bankers' banks are critical. And if you like community banking, if you like that touchy-feely, friendly, customer service aspect of it, that's how they're able to do that. That's how they're able to provide it. A lot of those smaller banks that didn't have big banks behind them failed during that big mortgage crunch because they didn't have the support of a banker's bank to keep them afloat when things got pinched, when mortgages, because they were lending their own money and they were providing services at their cost, which was, you can't loan money at a negative interest rate.
Yeah.
So that was a big challenge for them. So, so Bankers Bank. So that's it for this week's Moolah Word of the Day. I'm so excited about this upcoming interview because we were thinking about what do we want to do this week for an interview. And I thought, you know what? I really liked what we did with Brett in a past season. And so I thought, you know what? He's relevant to Key 4. He's proximal to what we're talking about these days. And I thought he would be a great interview. So let's, Miguel, work your magic and you roll the next interview.
You bet.
Let's bring Brett on. We have Brett Gottlieb as our guest today. Always showing an interest in numbers, financial matters, and even the stock market. Since his teens, Brett Gottlieb has just had a knack for financial planning. Right out of college, his first job was working for a large employee benefits consulting firm, USI Consulting Group, where he specialized in building retirement plans for the employees of larger corporations. While at his position, he successfully passed his 6 and 63 securities license and also became a California life and health licensed agent. He also spent some time in corporate benefits and decided it was time to change, and he moved on to work at a small insurance and financial planning firm in Southern California. He also has his 7, so he trades individual stocks and securities, and he is now able to provide investment advice for various types of investments. And now, Brett also joins Unlock Your Wealth Radio to help you with your financial planning needs. Welcome to the show, Brett. We're so glad you decided to join us at Unlock Your Wealth Radio.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
One of the things that I think is so great about what you do, because here at the Unlock Your Wealth Foundation, we teach brain-based financial literacy. And so we talk about all the other things that cause us to do the things that we do with money, good, bad, or indifferent. And what I like about what you do is you're a financial planner that is a holistic planner, and you look at more than just what kind of stocks and bonds do you have? Do you have any life insurance? And what I'd like for you to share with us is, first explain your approach a little bit, and then if we can start talking about, what's the first step that folks need to take when they're getting ready to become, get their financial ducks in a row, so to speak.
Well, I would say that there's no question when it comes to working with clients, it's pointing out and showing them that, as you said, stocks and bonds and life insurance, and there's so many other aspects to your overall plan, and it's really working with somebody to understand the bigger picture. Do you have kids, and are you protecting your kids, and you're saving for college for your kids, and have you reviewed your life insurance beneficiaries? Has there been a change in your life? Have you changed properties recently and made sure that your homeowners has been updated, or your auto insurance? And a lot of times it's real easy to sit down and say, okay, here's your stock account, and okay, these allocations, and based upon your age, and create, some Monte Carlo scenarios, and do all of this very sophisticated planning. But some of the more simpler things actually work better at building that relationship with the client and really helping them in other aspects of their life that they need assistance.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, going into working with making sure that they have a trust and that they have will and power of attorneys in place, because a lot of people just assume that, okay, if I just have a will, I'm okay. Well, depending upon your situation, that may not be enough. And of course, we know of the concerns when it comes to probate and the time involved with probate. And if you don't have that trust in place to be able to avoid going through that long, costly process. I see a lot of people that own property that don't have what's called an umbrella liability policy. Mm-hmm. And as much as I would love to help them out, I usually am referring over to a property casualty broker that can direct them, because they're super inexpensive. A lot of people don't know that, and it really protects you from the other things that happen in life. And we know we live in a litigious society, so why not make sure that if your regular personal limits and your homeowners and your auto aren't there to cover you, you have something else.
So can you give us an example of when we would use umbrella insurance? How does it protect us? Can you give us a specific instance?
Yeah, so give you an example. Typically on auto insurance, this is the easiest example. If you're in an accident and it's your fault, you have liability limits somewhere between $100,000 and $300,000. Well, what a lot of times happens is the person that is suing you because there's significant claims and they've gotten an attorney and they're coming after you are going to sue for a lot larger amount. They'll sue you for $1 million because they can do maybe a public search. If you don't have a trust, they find out you own a nice property. And so what happens is the umbrella liability comes in to fill that gap. In fact, in most auto-related accidents, there was a study that was done and found that about 80% of the umbrella filings to pay those claims are from auto-related accidents. So it's filling that gap when somebody tries to sue you above and beyond what your regular auto insurance provides coverage, or your homeowners when your mailman slips on your doorstep because you have a bad, step or something.
Right, that broken front porch step that you've been meaning to get around to hopefully someday fixing, but not right now because you got to take the kids to soccer practice.
That's right. And this is inexpensive, for the average policy, $1 million of coverage, you're talking maybe $200-$300 a year. It's very inexpensive. And guess what? It provides a huge level of protection. And so it's finding those other little things, because when it comes down to it, if I can really understand your whole picture, what you're trying to accomplish, what your goals are, and I cover these areas and get you directed, okay, I'm going to help quarterback this other advisor and get you set up in that space, then that really creates your full financial picture.
So, while we're thinking about this, you would think that instead of getting an umbrella policy, you would just up your insurance requirements. Because I know I don't have the minimums. I go way over what the state requires because, just by the nature of the type of vehicle I drive, somebody's going to look at me and go, "Oh my gosh, I'm totally suing." They're going to jump out of their car and start flailing on the ground and hoping that an ambulance chaser comes by,
Right.
So it makes sense to have umbrella coverage because it's probably much cheaper than just paying for higher limits on your automotive insurance, and then it covers you for so much more.
And that's probably it. I'm not being my field, but yes, in most cases I've seen that the cost is, so inexpensive for the umbrella compared to if you upped your limits in those other spaces.
Right. And even though it's not your field, it affects your field, because if one of your clients, heaven forbid, they get into an accident that's their fault and someone becomes sue happy, it could wipe out everything that you've tried to do to help them create a nice financial future.
That's correct, because they start coming after everything else, your wages, your assets, the various accounts that you have money in, and we want to make sure that those accounts are growing and are protected not only from market fluctuation and market risks, but from the litigation risks of somebody out there that wants to try and take it from you.
Okay, great. And what I'd like to talk with you further about is exactly what it means to be protecting the assets that you're trying to grow and talk about the value of an estate planner working in concert with your financial advisor. You are listening to Brett Gottlieb on Unlock Your Wealth Radio, and we will be right back with more after this. This segment of Unlock Your Wealth Radio is sponsored in part by KeepMyID.org, the only service that actually prevents identity theft. All others are just monitoring services. Put your credit on lockdown with their special offer for Unlock Your Wealth Radio listeners. Visit unlockyourwealthradio.com/KeepMyID to enroll and protect your financial future right now. Remember to use promo code WAGS.
Commander Marty Logan here from the Top Gun Seminars. What I've learned over the years is that the most successful people in life have coaches to guide them along their chosen path. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, Tony Stewart, Tom Hopkins, Kathy Colby all had coaches. Whether it was their father, someone else's father, or another person who helped them to shape their desires into an achievable path to success with a system of accountability where quitting was the only way to fail. Each of these people had someone who didn't see them as they first were, but as the person inside they knew they could easily become. Financial coaching can be the single addition you need to become financially independent. Call the Unlock Your Wealth Foundation now for your free consultation. 1-866-966-9420. That toll-free number again is 1-866-966-9420. Or visit us on the web at www.unlockyourwealth.com.
I'm at the Wagenhals. Too much month left over at the end of the money? Tired of paying off debt like a slave? Then tune in to my 1-minute update on the Jiggy Jaguar Radio Network for your cup of money motivation. And for more tips, visit crackingyourmoneycode.com.
Greenback is your neighborhood lender for auto title loans. We offer fast and easy cash title loans for cars, trucks, and motorcycles. Keep your car with title loans from $100 to $50,000. There are no year or mileage limits at Greenback, and we offer the cheapest rates in Arizona, guaranteed. For more information, visit greenbacktitleloans.com or call 480-926-6666.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. You are listening to Unlock Your Wealth Radio, and I am your purveyor of prosperity, Heather Wagenhals, and my special guest today is Brett Gottlieb. And Brett, you are a financial planner that takes a holistic view. And in the past segment, we were talking about the importance of looking at things holistically. And even though it doesn't seem like it might be related to investing, which is your area of concern, and how to multiply wealth and grow wealth for folks, all of these other things kind of go into it too, like whether or not you manage your debt effectively, or like we were talking in the last segment about umbrella insurance, not having that and going outside of your limits, and an accident you're responsible for, whether it's automotive or otherwise, could subject everything that you're trying to accomplish for your clients to catastrophe.
That's correct. Yeah, there's no question. We really have to look at each of those areas and make sure that we're protecting not only just your assets that are in the market and impacted by the market, but your assets that is your home, and your assets that are your cars, and even the ability for somebody to come after you and access, those other assets that might be in those places. So there's a lot of different, categories that have to be looked at. And if we're really looking at an overall financial plan and estate planning and making sure that we're protecting for your best interest and the best interest of your heirs.
Mm-hmm. So while we think about this, as opposed to, instead of thinking in terms of growing our wealth, and we think in terms of protecting it, what other areas of concern do you see folks should be paying attention to that are not investment related, but affect your investments?
I think one of the biggest areas I tend to come across a lot is the idea of wills and trusts and how they come into play with somebody's estate. A lot of people, when the time comes and you pass on and you want to leave your assets behind to your heirs, there are some lack of knowledge or lack of understanding of how the laws work in your favor and what's going to occur. And some people think that, okay, well, as long as I write down on a piece of paper that these things that I have are going to go, say, equally to my 4 children, that's okay. Well, it might not necessarily be true because, where are you at in your marriage situation? And, are you in a second marriage or a third marriage? And have you really taken care of to protect that those things are going to your children? I run into many times where somebody doesn't have a trust and they have no heirs, or so they think they have no heirs. And that's where you run into this thing of intestate law, which says, in essence, that the state that you're in when you pass away, they're going to try and find an heir, and they're going to give that heir all of the things that you have, and starting with spouses and then children and then up to parents, and there's an actual process that's followed. And by having a trust, or at least having your accounts titled with payable on death, beneficiary designations, then you protect those assets. And it goes to the point of, we're trying to protect everything and making sure, people a lot of times forget to update beneficiaries when they have a new child. And next thing you know, something happens and all of your assets go to one child when you actually have 2. And yeah, hopefully the family dynamic is going to work things out, and we want to wish the best. But we don't know, and so it's better to start planning ahead of time and actually take those extra steps to put in place the proper techniques and vehicles to make sure that everything you've spent your life saving up for, even not your entire life, even if you're younger and it's a beginning of your life, that those things go to the people you want them to go to and are protected.
I think I just saw some statistic, a few days ago that only 35% of folks that have assets or a reason to have a will have a will. So that means that 65% of us don't have wills that should have.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear something like that. I know that I like to look at it this way. I probably, when I'm meeting with clients or prospective clients, I would be willing to say that 7 out of 10, which kind of fits in your numbers there, don't have a trust or will or powers in place, or at least they're not updated. And that's why it's a big thing that I ask about, because you want to make sure you work with a good estate planning attorney and get those things in place so that your wealth and your assets are protected. Because it is, a lot of people are concerned about, the cost of doing it, because it is. I mean, it's not an inexpensive endeavor, but there are different avenues that you can go. And even if you didn't want to go the route of having a trust in place, again, a will is simply you're just writing out your wishes. But simply going to the banks and making sure that you have beneficiary designations, or what's called payable on death, on the various accounts you have. They don't have to be in a trust. There are ways around it. We just want to make sure that all of those avenues are reviewed and make sure that you are protected.
Yeah, and that's a really great point to bring up, is the POD designation. And we can take and go, and it's free to do when you set up any bank account.
That's right.
So, I just, as long as my brother stays good and is nice to me, then he gets all my stuff if something happens, and I think about that too, because we're young, but, I do crazy things. I ride motorcycles and race cars and stuff, and I'm racing in this charity thing I just found out I was racing in, and I got to go practice over the weekend, and anything can happen, Life happens. I had no idea that I was going to smash my laptop to pieces the other day on accident. So you just never know what life has in store. And I think that, we tend to forget about that. We think about financial planning. We only think about saving for retirement. We don't think about the other things, like we're just keyed into it from the media that, oh, well, I only need a financial planner because I'm planning for retirement and I'm so young, I don't even want one now, or I don't have any money and I don't want one now. But that's just, that's not the case. There's so much involved. So, Brett, what's the first step that folks need to think about as they listen to this broadcast and like, wow, I don't have a will, I don't have a trust, I don't have any POD designations, I don't have any umbrella insurance, and I got kids or I got houses or cars and I got stuff that probably is going to go somewhere. when I pass. Like, what's the first thing? Now I'm overwhelmed. I just heard all of these things and you scared the daylights out of me. Now I'm paralyzed with fear. And instead of taking action, I can't do anything. And so what's the first thing that I should do to make this process less overwhelming?
Well, and that's exactly it. It can become very overwhelming because there are a lot of different areas. And usually what I like to do and recommend to clients is in these meetings and in these conversations as they come up is we create a list of, in essence, to-dos. And what we want to do is put them in order of importance. And everybody's situation is going to be different, so no question suggest working with a financial advisor or somebody who understands about finances and can kind of direct you in these little areas and get you going down the right path. But that's really the key. I think number one, most important, I really would have to say is probably the trust or will scenario and simple beneficiary designations. Those are probably the top two things, because as much as none of us have a crystal ball, we don't know when we're going to pass away, we don't know when things are going to happen, you're better to be prepared and be over-prepared in that area. As much as we don't like to talk about it a lot because it is a negative, I'd rather see that number one. And then everything else will kind of trickle in and follow suit afterwards. And each person's going to be a little different because every situation is different. Some people may have certain aspects of their assets and their financial picture already in place. But if you're working with a good advisor that looks at this overall picture, then I think they'll be able to kind of help create that to-do list and just do that. Start that with one item and slowly work your way down the list and, make a goal of one thing a month. It's something that I do. I write an article on a monthly basis for a local paper, and the whole goal or premise behind it is once a month, pick one thing or one facet of your financial life that you can focus on and take a few hours that month and get that one item fixed and updated, and then you can move on to the following month.
Awesome. So if folks are interested in learning more about your process or they want to pursue some financial advising from you, where can they find you, Brett?
I can be found, obviously, on the web. My company is called Comprehensive Advisor, so comprehensiveadvisor.com. I also am pretty prominent on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook is facebook.com/comprehensiveadvisor, and Twitter is at @CA_advisor. And they can, of course, reach me at 760-813-2125.
Outstanding. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, Brett. And for those of you who are driving around without a pencil, never fear. UnlockYourWealthRadio.com is here where you can visit Brett's show page and get the links to his contact information, website, and so much more. And for more in-depth interviews with money experts, strategies, and members-only tools to fix your credit, get out of debt, and have more money and happiness, do what other savvy listeners have and visit UnlockYourWealthRadio.com, where you go to get your money mind right so your wealth and happiness will follow. Become an Insiders Club member today and start receiving the benefits of millionaire wisdom right now. For Unlock Your Wealth Radio and the maestro of Moolah, Michael Terry, I'm Heather Wagenhals. Now go out and unlock your wealth today.
UnlockYourWealthRadio.com is produced by Heather Wagenhals and the Unlock Your Wealth Foundation. UnlockYourWealthRadio.com and its affiliates are copyrighted 2016 with all rights reserved. For more information on the Keys to Riches Financial Wellness Series, please visit our website at www.unlockyourwealth.com.